My name is Bharat Mansata. This bookstore was started by me and my wife Vinita more than 36 years ago. It's about as old as our son, our eldest son. In fact, Vinita went into labor after one of our early gatherings at this bookstore. It was a music gathering. We had launched a wall magazine called Writing on the Wall, which focused on different issues. And one of the first issues which we took up was, nuclear energy and armaments, the madness of nuclear energy and armaments. And the second issue we took up then was on environmental problems. This was the time when the State of India's Environment Report was first published by the Center for Science and Environment. So subsequently they brought out quite a few very good publications. And the third issue of Writing on the Wall was on ecological alternatives, So we have all these different environmental problems, and the issue was, what are the kind of alternatives by which we can overcome these problems. And that was the time when I first read a book called The One Straw Revolution by this Japanese author called Masanobu Fukuoka. He was a scientist who became a full-time natural farmer. After a period of illness, he woke up in the forest, he went for a long walk, and realized that really nature is working just very well, and we don't need to do a lot. And this book was translated into English a few years after he published it in Japanese. Till that time, not many read it. And he used to say that, I have many, many more followers in India than I have in my own country. Anyway, so once the book came out in English, in a matter of barely 2 decades, it got translated into 60 languages all over the world. And it is perhaps the most translated book on farming anywhere. So that was a book that influenced me a lot. And Fukuoka actually came here, Masanobu Fukuoka. He was invited to receive what is called the Deshikottam Award, at Shantiniketan, Rabindranath Tagore's university, where a friend of ours translated from Japanese to Bengali and English. And after he got the award, he came here. And I had already published an article on him, which was brought out in the Illustrated Weekly of India, leading weekly. It was on 2 personalities. One was Masanobu Fukuoka, and the other was Bill Mollison, who's considered the founder of permaculture. So titled The Harbingers. Anyway, so we had a fascinating 2-3 hour session. This was all garden in front of the bookstore, and we had a nice gathering of people, and we after the permaculture workshop, which was the first workshop that Bill Mollison did in India, I was sort of given the responsibility of editing the Permaculture India newsletter, and I was looking out for people who had done outstanding work in India, whether or not they had heard the name permaculture at all. And one of the farmers who was really exceptional and very impressive was someone called Bhaskar, who subsequently became my guru, my mentor. He would explain farming and agroecology and the principles of farming in the simplest of language which any farmer or even a child would understand, which was very helpful for a city lad like me. And I started writing on Bhaskar. Then I started working on a book, and that book took me 20 years to complete. There were many gaps where I did not do anything, but I visited his farm, maybe 100 times over those 20 years, and at one point of time, Bhaskar Save wrote an open letter to, you can call to Swaminathan, who is considered the father of India's Green Revolution, or rather the foster father of India's Green Revolution, if you consider that he just brought in a technology from outside. It was a very hard-hitting letter to Swaminathan, saying that, more than any other individual in our long history, I consider you as responsible for the sad condition of our debt-ridden farmers driven to suicide in increasing numbers, and the rapidly degrading ecology of farm ecosystems. So that open letter, it was a detailed open letter with 6 annexures. It traveled very widely on the net, and a lot of people then wrote to Swaminathan saying, "What do you have to reply?" And he wrote a very politically correct reply, concise, and I've long admired your work, and I'm very grateful to you for all your valuable suggestions, and this thing we'll take them into consideration in our report. He was then the chairperson of the National Commission on Farmers, after having ruled the corridors of power in the agriculture ministry for 4 decades under almost every prime minister. He had then set up his foundation, and he was after his retirement from government bureaucracy, he was appointed as chairperson of the National Commission on Farmers, and he wrote this book, wrote his report, and his letter, Bhaskar Save's letter, as well as his reply, was brought out in a book called The Great Agricultural Challenge, which I transcribed into English based on discussions with Bhaskar Save in Gujarati, because he never spoke English. He would speak Gujarati and Marathi and Hindi, and that influenced a lot of people, and that probably earned him the award given by the International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movements, IFOM. It was a Lifetime Achievement Award in organic agriculture. It was called the One World Award for Lifetime Achievement. Oh, Allah. And so I traveled with Bhaskar Save to Germany to get the award, which was given to him because the work is entirely his. I was mainly the messenger of what he did, explaining it in English. He was already doing an excellent job in explaining to farmers in the vernacular, whether it was Gujarati or Marathi or Hindi. It was just not reaching out to the English audience because that was not his language. Anyhow, so the vision of natural farming has done pretty well amongst the publications of Earthcare books. These top 3 racks are some of the publications which Earthcare Books has brought out. About a dozen books have gone out of print and need to be republished because there is still good demand. And the vision of natural farming has had 5 reprints. It's a steady seller both in South India, where more people read English, and also outside India amongst the English-speaking world.